No, really. How are you? That sounds like a very simple question, and yet it's the most powerful question you can ask someone or you can be asked. Do we ask it with intent to hear the answer of the other person, or are we just being polite? Quite often when I'm out doing talks, this is how I start, because people need to understand the power of asking somebody, how are you, and waiting with intention for the response. Today, I'm going to talk about 3 different things. I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey as to how I got here. I'm going to talk about mental wealth and the concept around it. And then I'm going to talk about SWAM, which is what I have, I suppose, gathered together in terms of why it's so important of who the 5 people that we surround ourselves with. So in 1999, I'm giving away my age a little bit here if anybody's good with maths, I was out on a placement with my college. And the first placement that I went into was actually locally supporting people with day support with mental health issues. And one of the most profound moments in my life was when I walked into that room and I realized I actually know quite a few people in this room, and did not realize that these people lived within my community with mental health issues. And the significance of this support that they were able to get locally was allowing them to live independently within their own communities, raise families, hold down jobs. And people quite often ask me, what's your story? What's your experience? How did you get into mental health? That is the moment that I knew that holding space for people can be just, or is just as important as everything else. As human beings, we crave connections. And if we don't have that, well, what are we here for? Then in 2001, actually it was the day of the September 11th, I graduated with my 5-year-old daughter on my knee, full of enthusiasm for life, even though 3 weeks prior to that, her dad had been killed in a motorbike. I knew that with the education that I had gifted myself and my daughter and created that community around us, that we were going to be all right. People held space for us, we were being held, and it was so, so important to understand the power of education and belief. Fast forward 20 years, and another thing happened that shaped the way that I show up in the world of mental health. So throughout those 20 years, I worked really hard to build a career managing mental health services in all different genres across the trust. And one day this lady was sitting in front of me, a beautiful woman who had waited 2 years to get to sit in front of me to get the proper support and services that she needed. And in those 2 years, her marriage had failed, she'd lost her job, and her life was completely different because she didn't get, in the moment, the support that she needed. And I remember I was sitting across the table from her, and I remember thinking, it didn't need to be like this. It didn't need to be like this. And realizing if that lady had got the support in the moment when she needed it, it turns out the lady was grieving. It was grief that had happened to this lady. And if somebody had been able to pick that up on time, her life would have been so much different. So there, Mental Wealth International was born with that idea. It can be hard to understand, I suppose, when people talk about mental health. And the reason why I have chosen to really turn the phrase to mental wealth is, believe it or not, it actually gives more acceptance into the terminology around it, and whatever works, I am happy to go with that. So my idea of mental wealth and how it really came to be and be developed is, it is in what we do every day or on a consistent basis for ourselves, how we show up for ourselves, that fills our cup, that allows us to build mental wealth. So think of it as a vault, if you like, because a lot of people attribute wealth to monetary value. I'm not talking about that here. I'm talking about mental health and well-being. So every day or consistently, if you show up for yourself, whatever it is that you do, so I choose to do breath work, meditation, gratitude, goal setting, and go to the gym an odd time too. But I'll put that into my mental wealth vault. So I'm consistently building up resilience, building up my mental health and well-being, and creating a vault full of techniques and tools and things that I know support me on a daily basis to show up my best self. So building up the vault, so you're technically depositing your well-being strategies into the vault. So on those days, or when life hits you with a challenge, whether you've expected it or it's unexpected, you're able then to withdraw from your mental wealth vault. Your cup is already full. You're just filling it up even more. You've got the tools and strategies that you have now developed and know the works there at hand. So understanding, it's what we do when we show up consistently, where we go, the environment that we're in. Be intentional. Understand why you're doing these things, because they're filling you up. You're able to show up your best self, reach your full potential, which isn't that easy to do. And life tends to, hit us with different things that we weren't expected. My life has been no different. But I do understand in all those years that I have worked in mental health, truly what we consistently do, even in those days that we do not feel like doing it, those are the days to make it count. It's really important. Another element then, and I spoke about this at the start, is the 5 ways to well-being. Eat your 5 fruit and veg a day. We're always told to do all these things. The 5 ways to well-being is a strategy here that the Public Health Agency developed. And it's around 5 things that we do consistently for ourselves. So it's mindfulness, be active, give, show up for yourself, physical activity. And it's really, really, really important that we implement these strategies. And I quite often tell people, if you were to think about those 5 ways to well-being and simplify them, if you get up, go for a walk, listen to a podcast, which is the learning element of the 5 ways to well-being, meet a friend and buy them a coffee, you've hit your 5 ways to well-being already. So it's about making time, holding space, learn as you go, be mindful where you are, and connect with other people. It's so, so important. So when I was thinking about that, and it always seems to be a 5, whether it's got something to do with our hands that keeps it easier, that keeps it in our brains, I was thinking it's equally as important the 5 people that we surround ourselves with. So I come up with this idea or concept, SWAM, S-W-A-A-M. And I quite often get talked about that. So it's really important to be intentional who you surround yourself with. So whether it's an individual person or a group or mentoring program or friends, family, to understand and know who your 5 are. So the S stands for spirituality, because we all need an essence of something bigger, whatever that is. The lovely thing is, we get to choose whatever resonates. So that's the S. W, well-being. Who around you helps you keep your well-being? Who lights you up? Who keeps you happy? Who is that person, or who are them people? It's really important. A is for action. Who's pushing you on? Who is not allowing you to slack? Who is making sure that you are taking action? It's really important. And we've talked about this before. When you get that inspired thought, take the action. One doesn't go without the other. Ambition. Who are you surrounding yourself with that is a mentor, or somewhere that you would like to be, or someone that you would like to be? Who is helping you with your ambition in life when you're setting goals? It's really, really, really important. And M is mindfulness. We need to make sure we are looking after our mindset, our mindfulness, and creating the life that we want. That is something that I genuinely believe it's really, really, really important for our well-being and to achieve what we want to in life. And that is why mental wealth is so important. Indeed, that is why I wrote the book, Mental Wealth, so that people can pick it up, be inspired, put it back down again, and just show up their best selves whenever they want. So in concluding this talk today, I'd like to remind everybody to show up your best self, deposit into your mental wealth vault, so you can withdraw whenever you need it, and we all need that. And be intentional and know who your 5 are. It's equally as important as your 5 a day and your 5 ways to well-being. Who are your 5? Swap.